I need to know my real mother. How can I live my whole life without knowing my mother?
We will try our best to get her for you.
You shouldn't have done that, my mama.
I am so sorry, my son. Please forgive me.
The day Aishat walked out of that hospital with empty arms and a broken face was the day I stopped believing life was fair. She did not abandon her son because she did not love him. She abandoned him because she loved him more than she loved herself. And for 20 years nobody in this city knew the difference. My name is Ngozi. I lived in the flat next to Aishat for 11 years. I watched everything. And I am telling you right now, this is the most painful and the most beautiful story I have ever seen with my own eyes. If this kind of story moves you, subscribe to Deep African Folktales right now. Because we tell the stories that stay with you long after they end. Aishat was 22 years old when her son Ao was born. Completely alone. The father had left the moment she told him she was pregnant. Just packed his things and disappeared. She did everything a person can do with nothing. She sold food by the roadside.
Buy your sweet potato.
She cleaned offices at night. She washed other people's clothes with her hands. All of it with Ao strapped to her back because she could not afford anyone to watch him. Ao was a serious child from the beginning. Quiet. Watchful. By 5 he was reading street signs out loud to his mother. Aishat used to laugh and say God sent her a small teacher. But when Ao was 6 Aishat got sick. The kind of sick that takes something from you every day. The medical bills ate everything she had saved. Then everything she had not saved yet. She sold the television. She sold her good shoes. She sold the gold earrings her mother had left her. And still it was not enough. The night she made the decision I heard her through the wall. Our flats were small and the walls were thin. Aishat was crying the way people cry when they have held something too long and the body refuses to hold it anymore. I knocked at midnight. She opened the door with red eyes and showed me the papers. There was a couple. A man and his wife. Both professionals. No children. A big house. A yard with grass. A good school nearby. Everything Ao deserved and everything Aishat could not give him. She said she had been fighting the idea for 3 months. Every morning she looked at her sleeping son and told herself she would find another way. But there was no other way left. And Ao was already asking questions she could not answer, why the light sometimes went off, why other children had school bags and he did not. She said she would rather break her own heart than let her son grow up wondering why his life was so small. 3 days later she signed the papers. The morning they came to collect Ao, I watched through my half-open door. The couple were kind. That was the hardest part. Aishat knelt in front of Ao and held his face in both hands. She told him she loved him. She said it 3 times. She told him he was going to have a wonderful life and that somewhere in this city his mother's heart was beating with his name in it. Ao was 6. He did not fully understand. He hugged her, took the man's hand and walked out. Aishat closed the door. I heard nothing from her flat for 2 full days. After that Aishat changed. She still smiled at people. She still lived her life. But something was missing from behind her eyes. Like a room where all the furniture had been removed. Still a room. But empty in a way that echoed. She never spoke about Ao. Not once in all the years after. The years passed fast the way they do in a city. Aishat's health slowly improved. She found steadier work. We stayed close. Sundays together. Films on her small laptop. We talked about everything except the one thing that lived permanently in the space between us. 20 years passed. I found out what Ao had become before Aishat did. A news article on my phone one evening. A young Nigerian entrepreneur. Massive investment for his technology company. A photo. I stared at that photo for a long time. Same serious eyes. Same watchful face. Older now. A man where there had been a boy. But absolutely without question the same child I had watched walk out of that corridor 20 years ago. AO is CEO. 26 years old. Self-made. The article mentioned briefly that he had been adopted as a child and that his birth mother had made what he called the hardest and most loving decision he had ever had to come to terms with. I read that line 4 times. Then I called Aishat. She made a sound when she saw the photo that I had never heard from her before and have never heard from anyone since. Not a cry exactly. Something older than crying. Something that had been waiting 20 years to come out. Ao had been looking for her for 6 months. He came on a Saturday morning. Aishat had asked me to give her that moment alone. She told me everything afterwards. She said she opened the door and there he was. Tall. Well-dressed. Same quiet watchful eyes that took everything in before giving anything away. She could not speak. She just stood there shaking. He said, "I know what you did and I know why you did it. I did not come here to make you explain yourself. I came because you are my mother and I have a life now and I want you to be in it." Aishat's legs stopped walking. She sat down right there in the doorway on the floor. Ao sat down beside her. And they stayed like that for a long time without saying anything else. Just a mother and her son. Finally in the same space again. I met Ao properly a week later at Sunday food. He told us his parents had always told him the truth about Aishat. They had always spoken about her with respect. There was never a version of the story where Aishat was the villain. He said the company he built, the one the whole country was now talking about, he had named one of its divisions after her. A small quiet thing most people would never notice. But he knew. And now Aishat knew. Aishat did not cry at the table. She had done all her crying already. She just sat there with her hands folded and her eyes full and her face finally looking like a room where someone had brought the furniture back. They are close now. Ao visits on Sundays when he is in the city. He took Aishat to see the sea for the first time last year. She called me from the beach and all she said was, "Ngozi, the water is so big." I laughed for a long time after that call. People talk about sacrifice like it is one clean decision you make and move on from. Aishat's sacrifice was 20 years of waking up every morning living with the absence of her own child. 20 years of not knowing if she had done the right thing. And then one Saturday morning her son knocked on her door and told her she did not have to carry it alone anymore. I used to think Aishat was the saddest person I knew. Now I think she's the bravest. Because sometimes the most love a person can give is the kind that walks away so the other person can walk forward. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, the person you let go finds their way back. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe to Deep African Folktales so you never miss a story like this. We post every Monday, Wednesday and Friday.